Hi, we're back for another Photopea or Photoshop video, and today we're going to be talking about our select tools. So let's begin by going to a share screen and to our Photopea. In this case, we've got a lion here, and we're going to talk about using, again, our selecting tools. Our select tools are up on this menu here, and most of what we want exists in these three menu buttons. We have what are called marquee tools, which give us rectangles or ellipses. We have lasso tools, which are freehand drawing select tools. And then here we have object selection, quick selection, and magic wand. We're going to be talking about magic wand a little bit today, although I'm not sure this is the best image for that. So again, anything that you do in Photoshop or Photopea, you're going to want to do on a background copy. Your original source material should never be touched, damaged, messed with at all. It should only be copied and then used for that. And I'll say that again and again, video after video. You want to preserve your source material. So on this background copy, I'm going to want to select, let's say the lion's face. So there's a lot of ways I can do that. I can use a marquee tool, and I can just drag a rectangle around the lion's face, and there it is selected in that area. Now, when I use the select tool, there's lots of stuff that I can do with it in here. Let's say I have a paintbrush and I want to paint into that. Anything that I paint is going to be in that selected area. So if I start here, I'm going to make this brush a little bit larger so you can really see it. So if I start on the side, if you look here, I'm not painting anything. Nothing is going down because that area is not active. And so that's a good way to think about it. A selected area is an active area. And as I drag my cursor across, as soon as I enter into the selected area, the paint works. Okay. Now I don't want that, of course, because I'm damaging my layer. And even worse if I was doing this on my background layer. So I can always step backward and take those paint elements away. And I can be going right back through my history here. So there we go. So this is my selected area. Another thing that I can do with the select is I can go to my edit and copy my selected area. And then I can go back and paste my selected area. And if you look, that creates a new layer that is stacked on the top of our layers. And you can't see it here because it puts it right on top of the original image in perfect alignment. However, if I go to the Move tool, I can see where I've created my a new layer by selecting, doing edit, copy, edit, paste. I'm just going to step backward and step backward again, and that gets rid of our layer. Please remember, every time you add a layer, you're adding a layer of data and a memory deficit in terms of your document size. You're enlarging your document size, so it takes up more memory in your computer, on your scroller, more processing time, and all that stuff. So you have to manage your layers as you do all these copies and pastes. And it's also good to click and rename these layers. Okay, so select tools. Our marquee works like that. I'm going to do a new one. So if I drag this rectangle here, so now this is my selected area, and that's just dragging. Now if I come out here and put my cursor down and hold my shift button, okay, so I get that. And what that does is that adds the area. Now, if you see, I've got two different marquees chosen. I can do the same thing by clicking this little button up here. Now this, again, allows me to have united select areas. So now I have that, all three of these areas, and it brings them together. I also have a subtraction. So I can then come in and remove a selected area. And then I also have with the select tools, I have some very, very important pull down tool here. I have some important things: select all, deselect, and inverse. We'll talk about what those mean in a minute. But I deselected all that stuff so that we can get to choosing an ellipse marquee. So again, I can choose, and it creates this oval shape instead of a rectangular shape. And then I'll deselect that. And again, with this, if I hold Shift, if you notice, it keeps it a true circle. If I let go of my Shift key, it lets it be an oval. But as soon as I press Shift, it snaps that to a full circle. Okay. Now, if I choose another marquee and hold Shift, it adds it. It creates a unite. Okay, I'm going to deselect that. And that also works with the rectangular marquee tool. So if I'm, rectangular. So if I'm holding my Shift key, it keeps that in a perfect square. If I release the Shift key, it allows me to create rectangles. So those are the marquee select tools. And move along quickly. We have lasso tools that allow us to essentially freehand lines around this. So I can create that as soon as you come near the end or hit enter. It creates the selection. I'm going to do edit, copy, edit, paste again. So you can really see the shape of the thing that I selected with the lasso tool. There's my new layer. And as I move that around, you can see the freehand shape that I created with my lasso tool. I can delete that layer. Lasso tool is kind of tough because freehanding around an object is difficult. If I want to freehand, let's say I want to get the lion's nose here. Freehanding around that is difficult to get precision. So there are a couple tools in the lasso menu that help with that. There's polygonal lasso, which lets you choose in straight lines. So if you watch, if I'm going to select the lion's face, I can, with multiple clicks, I can really follow the contour of the lion's face. Now it's going to get a little sloppy here and there, but it allows me a lot more control when I'm copying his face. And I'm gonna, and I hopefully you're seeing enough that I can do that. I can just follow. And again, enter. And there's the selection. Edit, copy. Edit, paste. There's my new layer. And I move that around. So I was able to capture much more precisely the lion's face. And then I'll delete that layer. And then also the magnetic lasso tool. Magnetic lasso captures the difference in contrast between light and dark or different colors. So there's my magnetic lasso tool. And if you watch, this sort of follows. If I click down, you can see it's sort of following lines. And I'm clicking here occasionally when I want it to make a turn for sure. You can see that it's sort of following like a piece of spider web trailing behind a spider. But it's following these color contrast contours, and I can take control of it again by clicking, and that restarts it. And again, the magnetic lasso, this is not a very well-defined image in terms of color, and there's so much happening with the textures. It's not the best example, but I can follow a line and eventually get using contours and contrast. Not the best image to demonstrate that with. I'll deselect that. And finally, there's Magic Wand tool, which is right here on this menu. And Magic Wand chooses color groups. So let's say I want to choose just the black of his eye, because that's there are very few solid color groups in this particular image, but let's say I wanted to do something with the black of his eye. I want to make it red. I need to select that area. I use my magic wand tool and go into the middle of that eye and click it, and it picks all the black. Now, if you look, it's not a good shape of the black, so I'm going to deselect that and show you something else about this is the tolerance. So it's going to give me a range of colors, in this case, 16 shades to gray or deeper black. I'm going to make that like that 35 shades. And when I come in here, now I should be able to select a lot more of that eye region. And I can increase or decrease this tolerance. The other thing you want to do when you're doing a magic wand actually is you want to zoom in really close so you can actually see what you're doing. As I go back to my magic wand tool. And if I want to get all the corner of the eye and all that stuff, I'm going to continue. I'm going to make this a joined thing. And now I've got all that area chosen that I can do things with. So if I want to change the color to go into the reds and do something deep and dark and kind of scary looking. Again. And then I can just come in here and paint that zone and zoom back out and see what it looks like. Okay, so I was able to change that color. So yeah, red isn't all that scary. But so these are your select tools. Again, marquee tools, lasso tools, down here the magic wand tool, and then your select, all, deselect, and inverse. So let's go to, I want to talk about select inverse before we end the video. But first I'm going to deselect the lion's eye, and I'm going to step backwards because I think the red eye is kind of stupid looking. And then I'm going to deselect that. So select inverse. I'm going to just very quickly choose a rectangular area on this image. And as I demonstrated before with the paintbrush, right? Everything that I do is active in the selected area. So anything I copy, anything I paint, anything I paste, any text I put in, it's in the active area. But if I'm going to undo all that paint. If I select inverse, what does inverse is the opposite of. So suddenly this middle rectangle is deselected and everything else is selected. So I come back with my paintbrush again, and now I'm painting in the inverse area. And that's what inverse does. Very, very handy tool for isolating elements. Edit, backward, select, deselect. And those are how our select tools work. I'll see you in the next video.